Hello there, I'm back once again with another review. Another unexpected turn in an industry you probably know very little about. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's the best encouragement I get, and honestly, it's what keeps me going. As I've mentioned before, these videos follow a sequence. So if you start from the beginning, you'll be able to fully understand how this industry evolves step by step. After the first decade of the 21st century, IKCO was busy experimenting with countless variations in its lineup. They were assembling cars from different international manufacturers. Not just Peugeot, but also Renault, Suzuki, and others. Saipa, on the other hand, wasn't as active or as innovative. But its subsidiary Pars Khodro was much busier, assembling different Nissan models like the Maxima, Qashqai, Murano, and more. Meanwhile, Saipa itself moved beyond the Pride. Its lineup now includes both the Tiba hatchback and Tiba sedan. At the same time, market research at Saipa shows something interesting. Customers are willing to pay for a car that sits between two extremes. Not as expensive as the Peugeot 405 and not as cheap as the Tiba either. And that's exactly where Saina enters the picture. Obviously, an economical car cannot have a fancy design. The front of Saina is simple, but more modern than its predecessor, the Tiba. A white grille with black bars and the Saipa logo gives it a contemporary face, flanked by swept-back headlights that helps Saina to disguise itself a bit more dynamic. The bumper is clean with round fog lamps and subtle slats for detail, while faint hood creases add a touch of strength. About 5 years ago, Saina went through a minor facelift. The grille was upgraded to a mesh-type design for a more modern look, while the headlights remained almost the same except for a black shadow treatment inside. The bumper, however, was completely redesigned and daytime running lights were added, giving the car a much sportier appearance. From the side, Saina remains very straightforward and functional, reflecting its budget-friendly nature. The roofline is gently curved, flowing into a short rear deck that keeps the proportions compact. The windows are fairly large for good visibility, but the design is plain with minimal sculpting. Lightly outlined wheel arches break up the flat surfaces, while the simple doors and small multi-spoke alloy wheels emphasize practicality over style. The rear section slopes down softly, keeping the overall silhouette modest and unpretentious. At the back, Saina is compact and upright, consistent with its small sedan proportions. The first version came with large triangular tail lamps mounted only on the fenders. A simple design choice that reduced complexity while still adding a touch of visual interest. The trunk lid was flat with just a modest crease running across it and the Saipa badge placed right in the center. The rear bumper was thick and plain with only a small cutout for detail, emphasizing practicality over flair. The facelift brought more noticeable changes to the rear. The tail lamps were redesigned to be smaller and less angular, giving the car a more modern look. Unlike before, they no longer stretched deep into the fenders. Instead, the designer extended part of the light into the trunk lid. The trunk itself was smoothed out for a cleaner, more integrated appearance, while the bumper gained a blacked out section that added a subtle touch of sportiness to this otherwise modest sedan. So let's take a closer look at the car. The Saina I visited was only 2 years old, powered by the same M14 engine we've discussed before, a 1.4-liter unit that Saipa uses across almost its entire lineup. Just like the exterior, the interior of the Saina follows the same philosophy, simple and straightforward. The steering wheel carries a modern D-cut design, giving the car a sportier vibe compared to earlier Saipa and Tiba models. You can even see spaces where multi-function buttons should be, but in this particular car, they weren't included. The center console is laid out in a very basic manner. At the top we have a small digital clock, below that 2 vertically slatted air vents, further down the audio system and control buttons, and finally at the bottom the climate control knobs. Of course, hard plastics dominate the cabin, reminding you this is a budget-friendly city car. However, Saipa has tried to add value with features like automatic headlights, ESP, and tire pressure monitoring system. We took the car for a drive, and it was clear to me that the owner, a young driver still caught up in the excitement of youth, hadn't taken a very good care of the car. The steering system had faults and couldn't return to center properly, likely due to poor wheel alignment or worn out suspension parts like ball joints and tie rods. Even the check engine light was on, which was odd for such a young car. When I asked about it, he admitted he had removed the catalytic converter. And here we have another version of Saina. As you can see, a monitor is added on top of the dashboard, and it completely has changed the feeling and the vibe of the interior. If the company had invested in improving the quality of the interior plastics, which in reality still suffer from rough textures and wide uneven panel gaps, the car could have been marketed in a very different way. Interestingly, this version is equipped with electronic stability control, showing that the company can implement modern features when it chooses to, but often it comes down to a decision of whether to do it or not.
لا تفكر ولا تحتار، جبنا لك سيارة ما طلع عليك طفال. المقدمة والتأمين ورسوم الرقم وكل مصاريف المعاملة قسطها 290,000 بالشهر. تعالوا زورونا حتى لا تفوتكم الفرصة، والعرض يشمل الكل، موظفين منتسبين ومتقاعدين بدون كفيل. زورونا في صالات العرض في بغداد والمحافظات على العناوين التالية. للمزيد من المعلومات اتصال على الأرقام التالية أو مراسل صفحاتنا فيسبوك، واتساب، انستغرام.
Producing Saina was a bit like changing the shirt on the same mannequin and calling it a brand new model. So, was the Saina a breakthrough? Not really, let's be honest. Saipa didn't reinvent the wheel here. They took the old Tiba platform, polished it up, gave it a new look, and said voila, a fresh model for the market. and this is one of the core problems of our car industry. Whenever there is uncertainty, the solution is always the same: recycle the old platform. That said, Saina is still very much around today. It's an economical car built for city life. It's cheap, practical, easy to maintain, and it doesn't completely drain your wallet. For buyers who want a bit more comfort, Saipa has even added an automatic gearbox to make daily driving more simple. In today's market, the most expensive version of the Saina, which is the automatic version, sits at around $6,500. The bi-fuel version comes in slightly lower at about $6,000. But here is the strange part. If you manage to buy the exact same car directly from the company, the price drops to just $5,000. Quite a difference, right? Alright folks, thanks for staying with me. Please do hit the subscribe button for more stories from this part of the universe. I'll see you very soon.